What's going on YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys another video day. Today I'm going to be talking about the new ban list. I was planning on doing a prediction video this week, but since the ban list dropped a little early, I figure, why not go ahead and talk about it. So the new ban list is recently came out. It's going to take effect July 1st, and it's going to run and it's going to run till October 1st at the earliest, that's the soonest we will have an update. So it's kind of good that they're kind of keeping with this trend of kind of knowing us when they're going to update the list. So we know that this list is going to be in effect at least until the beginning of October. So it's good that we know, obviously. So, I really wish we had exact dates, but I get it. It gives them a little bit more flexibility to update it when it needs to be updated. So, but anyways, you're here for the ban list, not to hear me ramble. So we'll go ahead and move on. So we can see there's nothing really in this section so far. Yes, Maxi is still banned. No, it's not coming back. You see Harp Wars still there, but so we're moving down. So LP is now gone. I've been an advocate of banning LP for a while. It limits a lot of the starter of the plays for the deck. Now the DMZ Dragon play is a lot less effective. Now you can't grab Brotar from the deck to get that search for Levianeer. I mean, you'd have to search it with Chaos Space now. So I think you're eliminating a lot of lines of play for the deck. I don't think the deck is entirely dead without it, but it does at least slow it down. It's going to be interesting to see how people change up the deck without LP. Because you can still do some of the same plays using Pisty, it just requires a little bit more resources because you can literally just summon the Dragoonity Link 2 and then use Dragon Ravine to put whatever you need in the grave and then use Pisty to bring it back. So I do think that this isn't going to totally kill the deck. It's just going to mean there's going to be a little bit more resources to do what the deck already does. So it's not Pisty. It's not like I'm not advocating for Pisty to be banned, obviously, because this is a lot of extra steps. But you get my point. That LP eliminates a lot of those, and as you can see, there's so many cards on the ban list that are there because they summon from decks. So it's obvious, why we've been calling for LP ban. They did it. Good job, Konami. Now the next ban is actually Drident. So this is kind of an interesting hit. This is mostly a preemptive hit to deal with some of the new, because the new Tri-Brigade stuff is coming out, and the fact that you would have a Drident on top of all the other stuff that deck does, and Zeus, you obviously don't see Zeus on the ban section, either, spoiler alert, but Drident is like that ending play, and having it gone will eliminate a lot of the boards and it may force players to play a more pure Tri-Brigade deck, which is probably Konami's goal. It's not like Konami doesn't necessarily want you not playing Zoo with Tri-Brigade cards. They just maybe want you to play a little bit more of a pure build and buy their new cards rather than playing their old stuff. So the ban makes sense. Could it possibly come back sooner rather than later? Maybe. I don't think it's permanently here. But as long as the Tri-Brigade stuff is running around, it's going to be on. It's gonna stick there for a while because they did try to bring it back. Now it's banned again, so I don't personally see Dryden as something that's like totally 100% broken, but I understand completely why they did it. Now we're moving down the limited sections. So these are two that actually kind of affect the decks I want to play. So Miscellaneous Saurus is the one, and now Joker has actually been brought off the list. As someone who plays Dinos, I can tell you the problem with Miscellaneous Saurus isn't so much the fact that it summons from deck. It's when you hard draw it and the fact that the hand effect allows you to easily play into fields. And there's a lot of boards that can't really be broken, but Dinos can because Miss is at 3. And by limiting it, you also mean that you're only getting that one search from deck, that one banish effect from graveyard. So that's another thing. And on top of that, limiting it really just you're still going to be able to play Dinos with just one Miscellaneous Source. But I think this is more Konami correcting the fact that they bumped it to 3. It's going to sit at 1 for a while, and it probably needs to. Now Joker coming back it's pretty cool. What this does for Pendulum decks is now you can actually play. You could play Pendulum Sorcerer before, but now you actually have a decent target to search off your Pendulum Sorcerer after a Pendulum Summon. So now you have better ways to pop your double Iris going first, which is great. Now you have an actually legitimately good target to search off of your Sorcerer. It's not to say that Pendulum Sorcerer doesn't have other good targets, it does, but Joker is that card that, especially if you're looking at Pendulum Magician lists, this is the card that you're going to be looking at. As far as being like your primary search target. There's obviously other cards. Joker searches a plethora. Sorcerer can search a lot of other cards, but Joker is that card that it really helps the deck a little bit. I do think and I'm glad to see it back. I personally was kind of curious. I don't think it needs to go to 3. I think 1 is the perfect place for it, but it's nice to see, Konami throwing Pendulum players a bone a little bit. Unfortunately, Servant of Endymion's still at 1, but I get it, Striker Dragon is also limited, so what this does is means you're getting that one. A lot of the Dragon Link combos that I have seen cycle through multiple Striker Dragons, so this means you have to be a lot more It means that when you're going through your combos, that Striker Dragon, that first one, you're going to have to either bring it out of the graveyard with an extender to use it again, or you're not going to be able to do a lot of those combos that use 2 of them. And I think that's a good thing. It also means that Rocket decks can still use it. Obviously, I don't, spoiler alert, quick launch isn't here. So I think it's a good step in the right direction. It does kind of hurt Rocket decks, but it doesn't hurt them a lot. Ben 10 is still limited as well. I think, I don't think it's going to be banned anytime soon. Stalio actually came back. This was an interesting one. It's kind of weird because Konami has had this thing where they get rid of a lot of the cards they ban are also summoned from deck, but they're giving Salamangreats a monster that summons from deck. That's essentially Invoker for Salamangreats. So it's strange that they're bringing it back now, but I honestly would have preferred they brought back, some of the other Salamangreat cards first, and then maybe brought Stalio back, but I'm not going to complain. It's a pretty nice card to have back. Emeralds and Beatrice are still at 1, probably for good reason. Engage is actually back. This is an interesting one. So I honestly did not think we were going to see Engage back for a few years, because the deck, it's one of those things like Burning Abyss that even without Engage, it kind of hangs around on the fringe. It's one of those decks where if you really don't know what you're going to play, you can probably pick up Sky Striker and be perfectly fine with it. It's interesting because with it at 1, you can still use it multiple times in a turn, but you can still reset it with multi-roll, but you've only got that 1 copy. So we're not going to have those Engage, top it deck into Engage shenanigans we used to have back in the day that made the card so broken. But it's nice to have back, don't get me wrong. But I don't think we're going to see Sky Strikers running around like we used to, just 1 Engage. Like, give me 3 and maybe we can talk. And then Double Iris Magician is now at 2. I would have preferred they put it to 3. You guys watch the channel for a while know I hate the semi-limit section, but having 2 means you can actually use Luster Pendulum to pop it to search another one, which is great, but they should have just bumped it to 3. Pendulum's not going to do anything with Endymion still at 1. And Symbol of Heritage, this is a card that I'm not sure it was still on the list because the main abuse with it was in some of the Ancient Fairy Dragon FTK stuff with Lone Fire Blossom, and that card's been banned a really long time. So it's strange. I didn't even know Symbol of Heritage was still on the list, but it's off the list now. So if you really want to, resummon a Lone Fire Blossom after using all 3, you can. So anyway, the bout comes to the end. Now, what do I think about this ban list? It's about what I expected. I didn't expect them to make huge changes. I didn't think we were going to see things like Dragoon, Needle Fiber banned yet. And I don't know how soon Konami wants to kick off tournaments again. But I think that's when if they decide maybe later in the year or maybe sometime next year, that's when we're really gonna see a lot of the meta decks kind of hit, so people can play new things when the tournament starts. Because I don't think Konami wants to see things like Dragoon and Needle Fiber at every single fucking table. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see like what they do on what happens on that front. But I'm pretty happy with this list. It doesn't really hurt. For I just uploaded a Should All Dino deck profile, but literally the only thing I'm going to change is taking 2 Miscellaneousaurus out. Hardly anything else for the deck changes. And it's nice to have the Pendulum stuff back, and they've kind of dealt with some of the Zodiac Tri-Brigade lists. So overall, it's a pretty good list. It didn't get rid of some of the huge elephants in the room, like Dragoon, but it dealt with some of the elephants that we were complaining about. And when Konami does that, deals with at least the main card, some of the main stuff we're complaining about, like they did on the last list as well. There's really not a lot to complain about, if I'm completely honest. There's a few things I don't like. I would have preferred they put Double Irish straight to 3. Obviously, I'd prefer to have 3 Miscellaneousaurus still, but I understand. There's not a lot really to complain about this list. It's not earth-shattering. It's nothing crazy, but at the end of the day, it's a ban list, so good on Konami for getting it up to date. So anyway, guys, it about comes to the end of the video game. What you guys think of the new ban list down in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Source Storm, signing out.